Welcome to the interrogation of Manvinder Aulakh, who, on the 15th of March 2018, was accused of shooting Bao Hung Van. Before I play this interrogation, let me show you the body cam footage.
There's a knife right here as well. That's correct. Do you have a room from here? There's a
Nero.
should be somewhere. I don't know exactly where. It might be in his jacket over there.
Now, the police are first going to start with getting to know Manvinder. What do you do? What kind of work do you do? And you will see how they build a rapport with the suspect to put him at ease.
You were, how old are you?
I'm 22.
You're 22. Okay. What do you do, Joe?
Currently, I work at a food truck in DC.
Okay,
Cali
cool.
River.
Oh, nice.
With my uncle. He's the franchise owner right now.
Really?
I just started. I just quit my last job.
What's it called again?
Cali Burger.
Okay.
CALI Burger.
Okay. Nice. How's that going?
Actually, rather well.
Yeah, food trucks are killed there right now.
Making a killing.
Yeah.
Making a killing.
I remember watching, my wife likes to watch the food channel.
Some sweet thing.
Yeah, so they have like depending on the food trucks or whatever. It's pretty cool.
With the white guy with the crazy hair.
Yeah.
I watched all that.
Yeah, good stuff. So how long has he been, so he paid for the franchise?
Yes.
Okay. How long has he been on that?
I got like 8 months, 9 months.
Okay. Was it tough getting going or?
For him, yeah. I mean, I helped him in the beginning, and then I got a different job at Manhattan Pizza in McLean or St. Vienna.
Right.
And then he hit me up recently because he found out that I wanted to quit Manhattan Pizza, and so he asked me to work for him again.
Okay.
So I quit my job and I went over to work with him. More pay, better hours. It just I wanted to go back to school,
Right.
and I couldn't afford it at 9:15.
Yeah.
Wasn't happening.
All right. So what, are you going to school now?
I will be going.
Where are you going to go to school?
Nova.
Okay, cool. What are you working to do?
Theoretical physics.
Jeez.
That's my hope to get into Caltech and get a doctorate in theoretical physics.
So explain to me what theoretical physics is.
So there's theoretical and applied physics. So applied physics is when people actually go out there and they build, like you build like a particle accelerator, or you build a different machine to actually study it. Theoretical physics is, okay, in order to get there, we need to create the math and the theorem so that you understand how to get from step 1 to step 10. Like Stephen Hawking, who recently passed away, he was a theoretical physicist. And he was, my inspiration, one of my inspirations for physics. I love science.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's awesome. Sounds like you got a lot of good stuff going on. So you're good at math.
Math, science, terrible at English.
Right.
Terrible at English.
I think I was the opposite when I went to school. I was pretty good at English. I could write papers. Math, not so much. I have an economics degree, but take a lot of micro and macroeconomic theory and stuff like that, and math and stuff like that. I struggle a little bit. It wasn't my thing. But.
So now the police have built a rapport. They've learned that he seems quite a smart lad. They are now going to ask about the day in question and what happened during the shooting.
Do you have anything to drink, or are you
Earlier today, I did have something to drink. Okay. This was before the shooting about 2 hours.
What did you have? And
I had about maybe a tenth of a Colt 45.
That's it. Okay. Any drugs?
No.
Why don't we just start by just telling me, what happened tonight?
Okay. Well, it had all started, me, Ethan, and the other two, Nero and Mikey, we had all started a conversation. We're talking about Darwinism.
Can you tell me real quick, just so I have an understanding of who these folks are? So it's you. You mentioned Ethan. Ethan's a friend of yours?
Yes, he's my coworker.
Okay. You mentioned Nero?
Nero's the gentleman that got shot.
Okay, what's Nero?
His real name is Bao Hung Van.
Yeah, spell that.
BAO, and then just Hung Hung, and then Van, V-A-N.
Okay. But he goes by Nero?
Nero, N-E-R-O.
All right. And he's
a friend of mine.
okay.
No, was.
Okay. And who else is one?
Mikey.
Mikey. So is it Mike, Michael?
I think it's, Michael, but we call him Mikey.
And where were you guys at?
Vapology 101.
Okay. So does anybody work there, or does anybody?
Nero works there.
Okay.
Nero is an employee there.
An employee. Okay. What time did you guys go there tonight? Or who did you go with? Did you go with
me and Ethan, I apologize, got there around 4 o'clock.
And who was there when you got there?
It was just me around.
Okay, and then what happened?
So we were having a conversation about Darwinism and the Holocaust, and basically a very heavy-handed conversation. Me and Nero were disagreeing about a lot of points. Ethan and Mikey, they didn't agree with me either, but they were trying to calmly, rationally discuss the matter. Then Nero approached me while I was sitting on the couch, and he elevated his voice, and he wanted to try to get his point across. At that point, I had had enough of the conversation, and I had told him, and I pardon my language, when I told him to shut the fuck up.
Sure.
And at that point, I think because of my language, I'm not insulted, but he got angry.
Okay.
And so I can't even figure out the wording of it, but it's not even really a threat. It's just like a challenge almost. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I stood up, and Nero's a lot shorter than me. He's like 5'2". And he stood up, and then he approached me, and he proceeded to hit the top of his forehead against the bottom of my chin, which obviously that body language, they told me he wanted to fight him. So I put him in a half headlock on the ground because I didn't want to fight him. I wanted him to calm down before he did something dumb because he was carrying a knife on him.
How did you know he was carrying it?
He always carries a knife, and as well as I can see it on the side of his clip, because the clip hangs out right here.
Okay.
And so at that point, we were on the couch, and I'm holding him, and I can hear him flick his knife up, and from the corner of my eye, he reaches around to bring it down to stab me. I was shocked, so I grabbed his arm. He was putting so much pressure on it, I couldn't even think. It was just keep his arm at bay. That's when I felt the pressure on my right side. He was taking my gun out of my holster. And at that point, I tried to roll over to get away from him, get away from the gun, get away from the knife. I don't want to deal with that. So as I rolled over, I heard the click of my safety being turned off. I rolled, the gun dropped to the ground, because when I rolled, my holster connects right here, and actually physically comes on the belt. So when I rolled away, it pulled part of the holster with me, so it dropped the gun. We still have a knife in hand. And then I reached for my firearm, because I realized at that point he was really serious about hurting me, if not killing me. I grabbed the firearm. He tried to kick it away. I managed to wrench it out from underneath his foot. As I wrenched it out from underneath his foot, he took a step forward to me with the knife in hand. I fired one shot, center mass.
Okay, so this is where I want to link it back to my intro. At this point of the interrogation where they're getting into an argument, and then the guy puts out a knife, tries to take his gun, and then Manvinder shoots him with his gun. Is this self-defense? Do you think at this point of the interrogation, do you think he's guilty or not guilty? Comment, let me know.
So when I told him to shut up.
Oh, you tell him to shut the fuck up?
Yes, I told him to shut the fuck up.
Okay.
At that point, I can't even remember what he said, but I do understand the way he said it. It was in an aggressive, a threatening manner, enough for me to, I've known Nero for probably about 3 years.
What'd you say?
I'm trying to remember. Honestly, I can't remember.
So he says something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what do you do?
At that point, I stood up.
Okay.
Just so, to make it clear that I wasn't going to take being disrespected.
Okay.
It was at this point he approached me and got in my face, and his forehead, he smacked his forehead against my bottom jaw, like hard. And then at this point, I saw his hands are balled. He's ready, ready to fight. I reached my left arm out. I wrapped it around the back of his head so he would not be able to punch me. And then I used my body weight and just kind of pushed him into the couch.
And tell me what happens after that. So you guys are on the couch.
So we're on the couch, and I'm just holding him there. And at that point, I said to him, I told him to calm down. And he said, "Get the fuck out of my shop." And I don't even know if he said, "I kill you or I'll hurt you," or something like that. And that's when I heard the flick of his knife open.
So you think he said, "I'm going to kill you," or "I'm going to hurt you"? You're not sure?
Now, I definitely knew for a fact he said, "Get the fuck out of my shop."
Okay.
And then he kind of mumbles to me because I'm laying on top of
So you're not sure what he said?
I'm not sure what he said.
Okay, that's fair. But then you hear.
I hear the pink of his knife flick open. And
Do you see it?
yes, I saw it. He moved his arm around, because I happened this. He moved his arm around the top, and his knife was about here.
So you're still laying, you guys.
I'm laying on top of him, but he's taking his right arm and he's trying to stab me, and I'm holding back his arm with my right hand. So I got his neck in one arm, and I have his hand in the other, and he keeps trying to push it down closer. And I don't know whether he was aiming for the neck or the chest, but his hand was about here. The blade was maybe 3 inches away from my body. I was holding his hand, I think, with his left arm, because he knew I was armed and he knew I had a gun on me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel my holster move.
Do you see his hand, or do you feel his hand, or do you just?
I can feel your whole. I can feel my holster starting to move, and then I feel my gun being drawn out of my holster. I can feel the weight leave as he's trying to pull it out. I don't know whether he was trying to pull it out to use it against me or so that I couldn't use it. I don't know what his thought process was, but he did take my firearm.
So the gun falls on the ground.
Correct. And the first thing I notice is the safety of my firearm is off. I always keep the safety on my firearm. It's at this point I realize, he's trying to kill me, or at least bodily harm, like definite bodily harm. So I try to go reach for my gun on the ground. He goes to
does he still have, when you pull off his hand to the side, does he still have the knife in his hand, or does the knife go to the ground?
He still has the knife. When I try to grab for my weapon, at that point, he tries to put his foot on top of it, and I can see from where I'm reaching, I can see his hand is still on his knife. I managed to quickly jerk my gun from underneath his foot, and I take 2 steps back, in which case that's when he takes a step forward, and I fire 1 shot.
So, as you've heard, Manvinder has gone over his story over and over again. The police are now going to dissect his story and tell him what the witnesses told them.
All right, so this is what I want to go over a couple of things with you about what you told me, okay? So part of what we do in the investigation, I want to kind of go into that with you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Is just to kind of explain to you kind of what our role is and what we do and some of the things that we do in the investigation, so that you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, because I'm going to be completely honest with you about some things about tonight's events. Okay, so what was taking a little while before we came in here and talked to you is there were detectives down there at the store.
Of course.
Okay, so the detectives interviewed Mike. They interviewed Ethan.
Of course.
They pulled video footage.
Of course.
Okay, so and what I want to tell you is this. Okay, I've been doing this for 18 years. Okay, I've talked to a lot of people. Okay, I've talked to a lot of people from all kinds of different walks of life. Okay, I treat every case and every situation is unique. Okay, it's the first time we've ever talked to each other. Okay, your case is different than any other case I've ever worked. Okay, and for me, the only thing I care about and what my focus is in my investigations is the type of person that I'm dealing with and who they are and, you know, what kind of feeling I get from them in terms of, you know, good people, bad people, you know, what's their deal, you know. Obviously, in my job, I deal with the full spectrum. You know, I deal with some very bad people, you know, that wake up in the morning, they do very bad things. They think about doing bad things before that morning starts. You know, they plan stuff out. You know, these are the people that, you know, old lady walking to the bus stop, bad guy jumps out of the bushes, grabs her, throws her in the back of the van. Very, very bad things happen. Okay, those people, unfortunately, in our society, there's really not much people can do for them. Okay, that's their mindset. That's what they do. Okay. On the other side of the spectrum, sometimes I deal with people that are good people. Okay, hardworking people, people that get in situations, things happen, they make mistakes. Okay, which I get that. Okay, and what I try to determine is, and what people are going to ask me, you know, decisions need to be made about this case, clearly, of course. Okay, and so I have to think about those decisions and I have to get input in those decisions. And so I kind of try to get a feel for the type of person I'm dealing with. And doing some background on you and talking to some people, you know, and looking at your record, stuff like that. You seem like a pretty good kid. Okay. There's not a whole lot there. You're obviously working. You're very smart. You're very articulate. You've got a lot of good things going on. And you're a passionate person. Okay. I can tell that by the way you're talking about your schooling. I can tell that by the way you're that's who you are. You know, that's you. You know, you're being you. That is understandable. Okay. And you know what happens sometimes in situations is people get upset, things get heated, and things happen. Okay. And I can understand that, and I can try to work with that. What I'm going to tell you is that the story that you just told me, okay, is not accurate. Okay. Now, it's not accurate because the other two people that are there, that's not what they said happened. Okay. Completely different. Okay. The video, not what happened. Okay. Now, this is what I think. Okay. Is I think that you went to that store tonight. Okay, and I think that you were there to conversate with your friends. I think you were there to hang out with your buddies. That's the point. And you are a bright guy. Because I'll be honest with you, when I get together with my buddies, we're not talking about the Holocaust. We're talking about how Tiger Woods doing the golf tournament. You know what I mean? So things are a lot lighter. Okay. But you're there, you're talking about these deep things, and you're a passionate guy, and you get pissed, you know what I mean? And you get upset, okay? And when people get upset, when people are passionate, things get heated, okay? And I'm with you, and you guys get in each other's space, and, you know, he's up in your space, you know, you react, you grab him, you go to the couch, you're holding him down, okay? Now, the rest of it, okay, what you're telling me, I think, is you kind of minimizing now after something happens that is regretful, and I think you do regret what happened tonight. I don't think this is what you intended. No, I don't think it's what you intended. I hurt all my friends, of course. Okay, and I believe that. I do believe that. But what I also believe to be true, and what the witness accounts in the video, what it shows, is you guys get heated, okay? You guys are going at each other. He does pull a knife at one point, okay? But at one point, that knife goes to the ground. It's not in his hand. There's some separation, okay? And you shoot him, okay? Now here's the thing, okay? That makes sense to me. Things happen in an instant, okay? You said you are, how old are you?
I'm 22.
you're 22, okay? You have 22 years of life, okay, that has kind of defined who you are as a person, you know, who you are as a hard worker, who you are to your family, you know, who you are in general, okay? And 1 second, 1 instant, okay, shouldn't define your entire life. It shouldn't define who you are. And I don't want it to, okay? But what I do want, okay, is when decisions need to be made on this case, I think what's going to be looked at is how does your version match up against the evidence in the case? Of course. Are you somebody that's being truthful? Are you somebody that is a good person that's willing to admit, hey, I did make a mistake here. Things got heated. You know, we were going at it. There was a knife involved, but you know, in an instant, you know, a regrettable and unfortunate end to this happened. But looking back, okay, because I want to know. I mean, looking back, should have been handled differently.
Of course it should have been. It should never have gotten heated in the first place. An argument should never have gotten, it should never have gotten violent ever. Me and Nero have argued many times. Many times. It has never gotten to that point, ever. And not with any of my friends. None of them. You know, we don't fight like that. I mean, yeah, we'll smack each other on the back of the head and stuff like that, throw a pencil at you, but knives, guns, no. It just doesn't happen. Like, ever.
And I can understand. If you pulled out a knife, you're pissed.
Well, not just, I'm scared.
Right.
I mean, it's a knife, and I understand. I mean, I lived in California for a time. I didn't live in a very nice part of California. So I saw what bad people will do, and I've seen what a single blade can do to one person. The second that blade came into the equation, that let me know he was willing to kill me. That's all that read. That was the only thing that was going through my brain was, oh my God, my friend is really trying to hurt me. That's it. That's simple.
Okay. But the issue is in what I want to clear up, okay? Because, like I said, I'm going to need to talk to people about, you know, your version as opposed to everybody else's version as opposed to what the video said. The knife didn't stay in his hand. The knife went to the floor. Okay.
I don't know when that was. I don't know if honestly, I don't know. But I do know there was a knife. It was near my face. It was near my body. And it was with malintent. And from what I've been trained, if the second someone elevates it to a knife, a deadly weapon, that means you are trying to end mine. And I'm going to protect myself, regardless of who you are. Even if it was my own mother and she raised a knife against me, I'm going to protect myself because that's human nature.
Okay, I want to get your thoughts on the officer. He says he's been a police officer for 18 years. He's dealt with different people. He is stalling. I don't know if this is a tactic, but he's, maybe this, maybe that. Just give it to him straight. Tell him what you saw and tell him, look, I think you're lying. Unless, of course, this is a police tactic. From my point of view, up until this point, Manvinder has kept his story straight. He doesn't need to necessarily know if the knife was on the floor per se, because it all happened so fast. I can imagine his mind must have been blurred. I'm not taking his side, but to me, so far, it does seem like there was a scuffle over something stupid, and he acted in accordance with what he thought was his life was under threat. I can kind of understand what he's saying, but anyway, let's continue.
I understand what you're saying under different circumstances. Okay, when you get up, from the couch, and the knife is on the ground, okay, and you pick up the gun and there is no more threat. What I think is you're so jacked up from the situation of what happened on the couch, okay, that you shoot him. Can you tell me with 100% certainty, okay? Because there's going to be a video and there's going to be two witnesses. Of course. So I want to make sure that I'm understanding you, and I don't want you to make something up.
No.
Okay?
That's
Can you tell me with 100% certainty, that when you shot him, he had the knife in his hand?
No,
Okay.
absolutely no. Not with 100% certainty, no. But I will tell you this. When he got up from the couch, I do know at that point, he did take a step towards me. And for me, that's I'm going to continue with my attack. Because I know Nero, you guys don't. I know him very well. I know that, A, he also keeps a gun underneath the main part where all the baits are. I know he has a firearm sitting there. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to plan. I know he's an armed individual, and I know he's a deadly individual. This is a man who's lived in Vietnam before and survived. There's a man who saw people get hit by mines in Vietnam, and it didn't faze him. I know he's a deadly person. So in my mind, I'm a very logical person, as you can see by what I want to be in life. I took a calculated thought of this man has now tried to harm me in a not just a bodily function, but could have killed me. And he is still coming towards me, regardless of whether he had a weapon or not. That's my thought process. If he's coming towards me, there is a threat. I need to end the threat. And that's what I did. I picked up my firearm, I fired a shot, and I saw him go down. The second I saw him go down, firearm went out of my hand.
Well, let me ask you this. When you grabbed him around his head, okay, and you took him down to the couch, okay, and you were putting your weight on him, do you think at that point that could he have deemed you as a threat?
He could have, yes, but I did not start the confrontation. That's the problem. I never started. I stood up. Yes.
When you had him in the headlock, you guys communicated.
Yes, we were communicating.
What was said?
The first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Get the fuck out of my shop." Those were the first words.
Did you mention if you dropped the knife?
I'm not sure. Everything's happening so fast. I'm not thinking about what I said. All I remember is what he said, which was,
did you say, if you drop the knife, I will light you up? Try to remember.
I'm trying to think here. That does sound sort of familiar. Because I know I said drop it, but I'm not sure if I said that whole sentence. But yes, I did tell him to drop the blade. Listen to me now. How did my safety get turned off? Because my safety's always on. How did my safety get turned off? That's my question to you. How, in that entire scuffle, did a safety of a firearm and the hammer, by the way, get turned off? That's my question to you. I can wait.
Oh, you had the opportunity to de-escalate. You didn't de-escalate. You step in on your gun, safety on or not. You chose to retrieve it, pull it out, and shoot him. Right or wrong. It has nothing to do with what you're attempting to theorize.
It's not attempting to theorize. It's the fact of the matter of...
Hang on a minute. We understand how you're thinking. I'm not degrading how you're thinking at all. I'm just saying you're going to go around with us all night long about this. But the fact is, he's standing on your weapon. You went after it. There was no knife threat at that point. De-escalation was there. We're not saying if it's right or wrong. We're not here to say what's right or wrong. We're just here to determine what occurred.
Okay, the police and Manvinder keep going back and forth. I didn't mean it. We know you didn't mean it, but you should have known that he didn't have the knife and you still shot him, etc., etc. Whether you think it's self-defense or not, I want to go back to what the officer said earlier. The officer said, when I'm with my friends, I talk about golf. Well, when I'm with my friends, sometimes we do talk about conspiracy theories. I think everyone does. So to dismiss that, I think was being a little disingenuous. Either way, I don't know if this was self-defense or not. So why don't you guys comment and tell me? Just to confirm, Manvinder Aulakh was sentenced on March the 1st, 2019 to 8 years for this incident. Comment, tell me what you think.